what's up, guys, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. The S&P 500 and Dow broke all-time highs on Friday, and we're seeing a ton of momentum across a lot of different tech stocks, a lot of them being from the NASDAQ, so there's a lot of momentum there. In today's video, we're going to go over all of the top plays for the market for this week and all of the important news to look out for. If you guys are new here, don't forget to subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day. But Tom, what's the top news for this week?
Yeah, I think the big news is actually might be tonight. Powell is actually going to be on 60 Minutes tonight. It's 7 p.m. Eastern time, and the markets are at all-time highs right now. And he spoke during the IMF debate last week, and he didn't really move the markets too much. The SPY was moving in a channel, and it started to break out after he spoke, but it didn't necessarily happen right after he spoke, just a couple days later. And the thing that he's actually on 60 Minutes tonight, and it's going to be interesting to see because 60 Minutes, they actually like to grill people sometimes during their interviews, and they might really get into inflation or how the government's spending too much or something like that tonight. And I think that could be a big deal with inflation because I think they're definitely going to ask him some pretty big questions, but at the same time he probably wouldn't agree to go on the show if they were gonna hit him too hard. So I don't think it's gonna affect anything too much, but it could affect it in a way if they start talking about inflation or something like that, especially with how much the market is or how much the market's up right now. We can see how overextended the SPY is actually getting, and almost it seems like it's just ready to come back down. So I think any type of news with inflation or anything could drag it back down.
Sounds great. Well, speaking of inflation, Tom, don't we have some CPI numbers or don't we have like inflation data this week?
Yeah, for sure. The Commerce Department's actually going to publish the March consumer price inflation figures, which is the CPI data, at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, and that should give a clear sign on the pace of inflation. And it's expected to have risen 0.5% last month and 2.5% over the prior year, according to prior estimates from investing.com. And I think that's going to be pretty interesting. It's expected to have risen 0.5% just in the last month alone, and 2.5% over the prior year. And I think that's going to be a pretty big deal. It might even rise more than 0.5% with all the spending and all the growth that we're seeing because of that spending.
Very interesting. So those numbers will probably influence the market. And then I know BABA actually has some huge news. I think they had like just under $3 billion in fines. What's going on there?
Yeah, Chinese regulators hit Alibaba once again, and they hit him with a $2.8 billion fine and an anti-monopoly investigation of them. And they pretty much saying that they abused their market dominance. And that's all I really know right now about the situation, but they're getting fined $2.8 billion. And they've had problems with regulators in China in the past whenever they tried to buy Ant Group, or they had problems with Ant Group, I should say. And you can see it really affected BABA once that Ant Group news went south. BABA was around 320, and now they're at 223, and they're back down to support at 220 once again. And this bad news could actually make it break even lower, but at the same time, it's only 2.8 billion, so it might not affect them too much just because Alibaba has a lot more money than that.
For sure. So that's definitely some interesting data. If we do, or interesting news, I should say, if we do see BABA gap down, it might be good for like a cash secured put or a put credit spread, or even depending on the movement, maybe even some like puts for day trades. We'll just have to play the situation by ear, but I'll definitely have my eyes on BABA tomorrow morning. And then Tom, I know that we're starting to get back into earnings season. I know we have some big earnings, especially across the bank stocks.
Yeah, with all these earnings, I'm going to bring up the chart with earnings whispers again. But man, there's a whole bunch of big ones. APHA is on Monday. Tuesday is not too big. Wednesday is where we get really big with the banks. We have JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and Goldman Sachs all on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we have Citigroup, Bank of America, and US Bank. And then Friday, we even have Morgan Stanley, Ally, and PNC. So there's definitely a lot going on. And these bank stocks are doing fantastic. Bank of America has kind of been within a range the past week, but JP Morgan and some of the others have still been just breaking back to the upside and kind of creeping back towards those all-time highs that they were at.
Sounds great. So it'll be a huge week for these bank stocks. We should see a lot of big movement out of that. Normally with earnings, there's normally a good amount of opportunity to play the stock, for a pre-earnings run up or run down, and then normally for a continuation play after the earnings release. But when you buy and hold, or you buy puts or and hold through an earnings release, it gets pretty risky. So I'll definitely have my eyes on the bank stocks towards the end of the week. But is there any other major news?
No, not too much. I think I'm really just going to be focusing on Powell's thing tonight on 60 Minutes at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss it. He's the first speaker there, so it's going to be pretty interesting to watch, I think.
Sounds good. Well, let's get right into our member of the day and the momentum plays. With today's member of the day, we have Hondo 9800. So huge shout out, Hondo. Great job asking a bunch of great questions, and thank you for being a great asset to the community. We really appreciate it. But with that being said, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we're watching Apple, and this stock is just exploding.
Yeah, Apple and the S&P 500 are both, it almost seems like they're in sync right now, but make Apple break above 133 to the upside and make it really break above it, because if it only goes above by like 2 or 3 cents, definitely watch out. Make it break about 10 cents above.
All right, and then we have Microsoft.
Microsoft, MSFT, make them break above 256.
All right, and then we have CRM.
CRM, Salesforce, they've been doing fantastic this year as well, but make them break above 231.50.
All right, so those are the momentum plays. They're mainly tech plays right now. The tech sector has so much momentum. The NASDAQ has not broken all-time highs just yet. But some of these stocks, I'm not going to lie, are definitely looking a little bit overextended. And when I say that, the main one that comes to my watch would be Amazon and even Google a little bit. These stocks have been just going straight up. So I think, like, especially with Amazon, you could get really far out of the money with like call credit spreads and things like that. So I'll definitely have my eyes on like Amazon call credit spreads for this week. Overall, we have a lot of upwards momentum, especially across tech stocks, but just be careful because, just be careful of a pullback. They basically went straight up last week.
Yeah, and even some of the indices did, like the S&P 500 and the Dow. So I'm even watching for a pullback out of the S&P 500 or the Dow possibly. And QQQ, like we said, it's not at all-time highs yet, so it could possibly double top here as well. And that's going to be a very interesting level around 338.
All right, well, let's get right into our questions from the previous episode. With the first question, we have Piper asking about Bank of America for the short term. So, Tom, we have all these major bank earnings this week. I think it's going to be pretty hard to play because their earnings are in the middle of the week. So, we might see a pre-earnings run up or run down, and there will be opportunity to like scalp on that move. But, in terms of holding through the actual release, that's normally a complete gamble. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a complete gamble as well. And right now, Bank of America's been between a range between around 39.50 and then 40.25. So I think that that's going to be a pretty good range. And you can see it's been in it for about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days now. So I think with this earnings, it's going to break out of it one way or the other. And just giving how the bank's earnings have been going lately, it might break to the upside. But at the same time, like you said, it's just a complete gamble right now and a coin flip, because they could have good earnings, but then they could word something strangely about their growth in the future, or they might say, look, we've been going up so much this year, we're due to possibly pull back the next quarter, and that could be a bad outlook. And even though they had good earnings, sometimes that outlook can overpower the actual earnings.
100%. With the next question, we have Malik saying, just found you guys this week and super glad I did. Love the videos, especially the technical analysis. Well, thank you for that. And then they said, wondering what you guys think about QCOM for the short term. So Qualcomm, they had a pretty good week last week, Tom. It bounced off of the 130 support pretty well, and it's starting to fill that gap up to like 140 to like 145. It looks like we might have a little bit of resistance right around like 142 or like even like 145. What do you think?
Yeah, there's definitely a good resistance around 141 to 142, I think. And if we break above that, it could be an awesome gap, like you said, back up to possibly 145. Whenever we look at that daily chart, Qualcomm is down pretty significantly from their highs, and this has been an amazing chip stock. I wish I would have picked it up whenever it was around $80 a share, but if we all could have done stuff that we wish we could have in the past, we'd all be rich, right?
Right, for sure. With the next question, we have Bravo saying, I'm loving your dedication, guys. Keep up the good work. Could you look at a potential long term play on DRN? So, do you guys think it has a good chance going forward for the next 1 to 2 years or longer? So, I was looking a little bit into this stock, and it is a 3 times leveraged ETF that follows REITs. So if we look at the max weekly chart, it looks good, and it just got absolutely crushed last year. Here's the thing. So it is a 3 times leveraged ETF. Depending how its holdings move over the next year, obviously they'll have a big impact. But with leveraged ETFs, they decay kind of like options do, so you have to be extremely careful. Since they are using leverage, their stock sometimes can actually fall if their holdings rise. So it's just like a risk while trading leveraged ETFs. Sometimes you see leveraged ETFs, 10x their value or 5x their value, and that's awesome. Just be a little bit careful when playing leveraged ETFs. Tom, in terms of like the charts and the technical analysis, do you have any like major support and resistance levels or anything like that?
Yeah, I think there's actually a really good support around 13.50 on the stock, and then there's going to be a pretty good resistance, I think, around $21 or $20. So we're at around 16 right now, and if the real estate sector keeps doing well, then this stock might keep popping up, but definitely watch out for it to hit $20, which is also right around the 1,000 SMA. Plus, it's a good support in the past, so I think that that's going to be a good resistance here.
Sounds great. With the next question, we have Blake saying, could you check out a swing for FSR and then FCEL? So the first one will take FSR, which is Fisker. It was exploding like a month ago, Tom, and now it's coming right back down to support right around $15. I think I think if it does hold support, I think that could be pretty good.
Yeah, I think this is awesome actually off the $15 support. Given that it's an EV stock as well, I think that this could be a great play for the future. Some of these other stocks like NIO and LI, which they've all been going down, and that's just dragging down the prices on some of these other ones like Fisker, which is FSR. I love it off that 15 support. So definitely watch out. And I think it's pretty smart because you can buy in right there and then just set a stop loss at $14 or $13 if you want. And you're not really risking too much, in terms of risk to reward scenario. You're risking $2, but you could possibly make about like 10 to 15 or $20 if we see a good upside move out of these EV stocks.
For sure. And then the next one he was asking fuel cells. So FCEL, this one's also at support and it looks pretty good. As long as it holds at like $12 level, I think it could be pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I love these types of stocks as well, like fuel cell, First Solar, and just all those types of stocks that are like futuristic type of stuff with energy. I love that stuff. I think that fuel cell is great. Just like you said, off the support, it's also moving above the SMAs, which is great to see as well.
Yeah, and then another similar setup would be PLUG. It's also coming down to like that $30 level, which is a very similar setup. So they look pretty good. You just have to make sure that they hold those support levels. With the next question, we have TV saying, what do you guys think on calls for CCL for a swing trade and Peloton puts for a swing trade? So CCL calls, I think it looks pretty decent. It has a really strong resistance right around 30. It broke that in the middle of the week last week, but it came right back down. So definitely watch that resistance at $30. It bounced off that level multiple times in the past. And then if we look at Peloton, let me pull this one up. It looks okay. I don't know. I'm kind of neutral on it. What do you think?
Yeah, Peloton, unfortunately, it bounced off that $100 support. It would have been awesome to grab around $100 or to get some cash secure puts whenever it was at $100. Right now, it popped up a little bit to around 125. It's kind of getting back to that middle of the range area, and it could also hit some resistances around 130. So I would just be a little bit careful with this. I'm a little neutral on it.
All right. And then what do you think about CCL?
Yeah, CCL, I actually like this one. I think it might actually break $30 over the next couple of weeks, just because the Florida governor went ahead and sued the CDC for not allowing cruise ships to get to capacity, kind of like the airlines are allowed to. And that's the main reason that they sued. So I think that that will help these companies kind of recover. But if it can't break 30, then just don't even look at it, because it doesn't matter unless the chart can move.
Sounds good. With the next question, we have Rich saying, I've been watching LMND for the past couple weeks. Do you think the mid 90s is a good start to building a position, or do you feel it's too overvalued even with the huge dip they had recently? So, mid 90s, I think that looks pretty good. There is a support right around 80, so I'm not sure how many shares you're looking to get, but you can always sell like an 80 strike cash secured put. Like if we go out to let's say April 30th, the 80 strike cash secured put will give you about $135. So that's a pretty good premium actually. If we look at their max weekly chart, it looks pretty good. But yeah, I would say mid 90s is good. Ideally, support is right around 80 though. What do you think?
Yeah, that support's right on $80. Mid 90s I think is okay, just given its all-time highs, but if it doesn't get back to all-time highs, then that's going to be pretty worrisome. But it is holding $80 pretty well, and it's hit off of it twice now over the past couple months, so definitely watch for it to hold that.
Sounds great. Well, Tom, do you have any last minute stocks, options, or any insight for the market for tomorrow?
Yeah, I made a little watch list again, and I'm really going to be watching Facebook. That one's really breaking out at all-time highs. If they can continue up, that would be amazing. I'm also watching Palantir, which is doing fantastic. If they can break above the $24 level, I think that would be amazing for them. And also Raytheon, this stock is also recovering up pretty nicely, kind of like Boeing. If it can break the $80 resistance, I really like it. And then I'm also going to be watching the S&P 500. This thing's just been on fire, continuing up to all-time highs. But this one, I'm actually going to be watching to possibly pull back over the next couple days, or possibly by sometime this week, maybe Friday. And I think that if those bank earnings go south, that might be the big catalyst to pull it down.
Sounds great. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to trade with Tom and I every single day, day trades, swing trades, and access to our bots, you can click the first link in the description down below for about $40 off. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And we're also starting a new channel, Stocked Up Live, where we're going to be doing live streaming and live trading. We're going to be live streaming very soon, and the link will also be in the description down below. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments down below. But other than that, thanks for watching.